everyone, welcome to another video. Today I want to share with you the Clarity stencil brushes and how I like to use them, and also a little bit of simple masking. Here's a look at the stamps I'm going to be using today. All the supplies, stamps, inks, colors, all that great stuff, it's going to be listed down in the description box. So if you have any questions, you can always find all that stuff down there. Now I'm starting off with a piece of cardstock that's 3 1/4 by 5.5 inches tall. I put this in my mini Misty, and I'm starting off with that plump pumpkin from Cracker Box and Susie Stamps. I inked it up with Midnight Ink from Catherine Pooler and stamped that down. I'll be using my colored pencils and OMS to color in my little pumpkins today. So I used an ink that played well with that. I have a video all about what coloring mediums work with the Catherine Pooler Midnight Ink. I'll leave that linked in the top right hand corner. Now I stamped that pumpkin right in the center there. That's going to be my pumpkin that's in front. Now I want to stamp a few behind that pumpkin, so I went ahead and cut a mask. I like to use Inkadinkado masking paper. However, you can use whatever you have on hand. If you have masking tape, use that. If you have post-it notes, use that. Use whatever you feel comfortable with. Stamp it out, fussy cut it, and then I went ahead and put that right over the pumpkin and lined up my next pumpkin on the right-hand side. Now anything that's behind that first pumpkin is going to be a little higher. I know that seems weird, but bump that pumpkin up just slightly, and then I stamped it down. Then I'll take that pumpkin over to the left side. I am cleaning this stamp off each and every time I stamp it down. That way I don't transfer any ink where I don't want it. I went ahead, put that on the left side of my first pumpkin, bumped it up just a little bit towards the top of the cardstock, and then I'll stamp it down. Now there is very, very simple masking, but now I want to add a little bit of grass and a little bit of sky to this scene. So I need 2 more masks. I've got this Inkadinkado masking paper. I'm not going to ink up my stamp again. I'm just going to go ahead and use that leftover ink to stamp it down 2 more times. Now I like to be rather careful with my masking paper. That way I get as much use out of it as possible, and I don't have a lot of waste with it. So I like to stamp it right up to the edge there. And then I fussy cut them out with some fine tip scissors, and then peel off that blue backing paper and place it right over the stamps. Now the Catherine Pooler ink dries very quickly, so you don't need to worry about smearing or anything like that. Just go ahead and put those masks down. Now I'm going to grab 2 of the Clarity brushes. I've got the larger, it's not the largest one in the set, it's the second largest, I guess you could say, and then I've got the very smallest brush as well. I'm going to go ahead and create a very, very simple mask with the post-it note and some scissors. This is going to be a little hill, so all I'm going to do is cut a little bit of a hill shape with my scissors. I mean, it really doesn't get any simpler than that. I just used one swipe of my blade and cut that out. Then I'll go ahead and place it right on the left side of those pumpkins. You want the hill to be kind of behind the pumpkins, but because that pumpkin on the right is hanging off the edge, you're not going to have anything showing over there. Now because I placed the hill down first, I'm going to go ahead and start blending with my It's a Boy ink. I found the best way to blend with these brushes for me is not to go in circles, but actually to go either straight up and down or side to side. In this case, I'm going to go straight up and down. So I just like to tap my brush right in that ink. If you get a little bit too much or you feel like you've tapped too many times, tap it off on a scrap piece of paper and then bring it to your cardstock and just start where you want it the darkest, and then go ahead and swipe up to where you want to bring the color lighter. So for this, I'm starting at the horizon line and I'm bringing it straight up to the top of the cardstock. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because this is a lighter way of blending. So if you really like those light blended scenes like skies and grass and that kind of thing like I do, but you have trouble getting that with your ink blending tools, this is a great option for you. Now I wanted to come in and go lighter even more, so I grabbed the Meant to Be ink. I'm going to dip straight in. I'm not going to worry about cleaning off that brush, and I'll just dip straight in and blend even further up the cardstock. And I've got this great gradient going on now, and it's really, really beautiful and very soft. You're going to have to excuse my voice today. I am a little sick, so I'm just kind of trying to get through this. I went ahead and added that Meant to Be. Then once I was happy with my sky, I removed that bottom mask, and I'm going to go with the top of the mask that I cut here, which would be the sky portion. I'll mask off that blue that I've already put down. This part of the Post-it note didn't have any sticky, so I grabbed a little masking tape and just taped that right into place. Again, I'm coming in with grass skirt this time, and I'm using that smallest stencil brush because I don't have a lot of area to cover here. I dipped in my grass skirt ink, tapped off if I felt I got a little bit too much on there, and then again, straight up and down. I tried to go in circles again, but I find what works best for me in these brushes is to go straight up and down or side to side. I wanted to add a little bit of a shadow, so that was great with the tip of these brushes to really get in there and add a little bit of darker. I removed that mask on top, and I blended a little bit where the sky and the grass meet. That way it's not such a harsh line. It really kind of blends together that way. Then it was time to remove the pumpkin mask. Now the one on the left moved just a little bit, so I got a little bit of green there. That's okay. I'm going to cover that up with colored pencils in just a moment. For my coloring of the pumpkins, I wanted to go more with warmer colors instead of really bright, vibrant colors. So I grabbed some of my Prismacolor pencils. I'm using very few here. I'm only using 4 colors. And as I go, I will go ahead and leave the colors that I'm using down below so you can see exactly what colors I use to do this. Now whenever I color with my Prismas, most of the time I like to use OMS to blend them out just because I'm not a very good colorist and I like to do things quickly. So I just scribble on a little bit of color and then use my blending stumps and my OMS to go ahead and blend that out very quickly. Now I like to start with my darkest color, add in my lightest, and then very, very quickly blend between the two. Then while it's still wet, if I need to, I can come back in and add more color, more depth, dimension with the darker colors if I want to. For the brown color, I'm only using 1 brown colored pencil on the stem because it's so small. And then also on the leaf, I only used 1 green color because again, they're so small. I didn't really worry about blending and shading on that. This was more about making the scene rather than focusing on coloring one particular image. Now with that done, here's a closer look. You can see that orange covered up the green that I got on that pumpkin, and it was good to go. To add my sentiment, I grabbed this very big thank you. I love big sentiments like this that take up so much space. They just pop right off the card. So I went ahead and put that right above my pumpkins. I'm using my mini Misty again, and I'm stamping that down with the same midnight ink. Because I'm using my Misty, I'm just going to do a double stamping. It didn't really need it, but why not? I've already got it in there. Now on my card base, I wanted to add a little bit of something on the left-hand side. So here's my little panel that's going to adhere to the right-hand side of my card base, but I've got all this leftover white space on the left-hand side. So I grabbed these 2 little leaves. These come in a set from Cracker Box and Susie Stamps, and I'm going to stamp those and make kind of a little border on that left-hand side. Again, whenever I'm using my mini Misty with my Cracker Box and Susie Stamps, because these are red rubber and they already have that foam on them, all you need to do to use them with your Misty, mini Misty, or the larger one, you just need to take out that foam pad that's in there, and these work great with your Misty as well. So I stamped those down, and I just switched back and forth between the 2 stamps. Then I took it out and finished the top and bottom with just a few little leaves kind of running off the edge for a more put together look. And then that was done. I just needed to color these in. I grabbed some of the same colors that I used on the pumpkin, so that green and the brown and the orange, and then I grabbed a red and a yellow that had those really warm tones to them as well. Quickly colored in the leaves, then used my blending stumps and my OMS, Gamsol, whatever you want to call it, to blend those out very quickly on that left-hand side. There is a closer look at those leaves all colored in. Just with 1 color, you can get some great shading and blending with using your OMS. Now to break up the area between the leaves and the pumpkin panel that I'm using, I went ahead and just grabbed a craft strip of cardstock, put some double-sided adhesive on it, placed that down so I wouldn't overhang over the leaves, and I didn't want to do any cutting on my pumpkin panel, so I just placed that down, placed my little pumpkin panel over that to get it lined up properly. I added some dimensional adhesive to the back of that pumpkin panel and craft strip, and then I can go ahead and place that right down onto my card base, lining it up with the right hand side. It was really that simple to do that craft strip on the side. You can add a little stitching to that if you want to dress it up even more. You can add maybe some gold foil to that, but I just wanted to keep mine Craft, and Plain. Now I grabbed a few of my enamel accents. These are brown enamel accents. They no longer make those. I added a few of those. To switch out with that, they have brown Nuvo drops, which work just as well. I'll leave those linked down in the description box. With the outside of my card done though, it was time to move on to the inside. I grabbed those leaves that I stamped along the left-hand side, a few more of the Catherine Pooler inks that I thought matched the colors that I used on the front, and I stamped 3 of those down on the bottom. I used Mandarin Spice, Sauna, and icing on the cake. There's a closer look at the inside of the card. Very, very simple to do. And then one more final look at the outside as well, and that is going to do it for me today. Now on the left side of your screen there are going to be links that you can click on. You can also subscribe to my channel over there. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up down below. All of my social media links are going to be in the description box as well, so make sure you check over there to see what else I'm up to. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.